the reason FedEx would try this, the reason FedEx would use these types of options is because they think that it could potentially work better than the ISP model. And better would mean that FedEx makes more money and contractors have to be more successful. FedEx wouldn't roll out a model that improved their margins, but every contractor fails. Because although, yes, they make more money, if every contractor fails, then FedEx doesn't have a network. So when they're considering these tools, they're trying to figure out if there's ways that they can help in certain markets or at certain times to improve the efficacy of their contractor network. Now, a lot of what we've seen so far is that it hasn't been super successful. Right now, as it is, that's definitely one of the reasons we're thinking it's not a huge indicator of being the new type of agreement FedEx pushes, is because in a lot of the places they've modeled it and tried it, there haven't been a ton of contractors who are loving it, who are doing really well. And one of the things Jesse pointed back to is the reason for that is that it's really dependent on their forecasting through DRO being very accurate. And it's not. We as contractors know that. And the way that we as contractors are successful is because we're entrepreneurs and can figure out the best ways to adapt and be successful with whatever forecast we're given. And when you're purely tied to that model and no real leniency there, that's an underlying problem that has to be fixed. And so if at the end of the day, service SCAs become more popular because FedEx has perfected the DRO model, that's a win. I'll take that all day if it's a perfect forecasting model, but right now we're not there. And I wouldn't expect that at all. Really what we've seen it as, and what we're seeing it more, and as Jesse pointed to, is that this is a tool to handle particular areas that aren't working well with the ISP model. You may not have seen them in your terminal, but I've seen it where there are certain territories where it doesn't matter who's running it. It could be the best contractor in the world. It's just, unless FedEx decides to pay significantly more for those territories, they just don't work with the current model. So they're trying different things. And, I think it's always fine to try different models, different options. And to repeat, in none of the scenarios where these have been offered, has it been a forced method. It's been, hey, look, this is something we want to try. Would you want to take this as an option? And people voluntarily take it. So this is not something that FedEx is ramming down in anyone's throats. This isn't something FedEx has announced that, hey, this is our upcoming policy, prepare for it. This is something they're trying. And a lot of what we've seen is that it doesn't work. So FedEx would not pursue that unless underlying problems in the network got fixed, which if they did that, that's great. That's a win. We want that. I still don't think that would lead to SCAs being super popular. I do think that ISP model works really well for what FedEx has. I think there's always going to be some tweaks FedEx intends to make and extra tools that they like to use, like the SCA, but ultimately the ISP model is what they're pursuing.
Well, what has been one of the major concerns and issues we've seen over the past few years? I mean, ever since DRO was rolled out, almost every single year, the top one is, why is DRO not giving me accurate numbers? And so to me, not to say this is all roses. I'm not here to be an apologist for FedEx, but in my opinion, one way to look at this is that FedEx hears you. Like they understand, they know this is a problem in the network, right? And until they can go and force every single shipper who is putting the length, width, and height of the box and a perfect amount of weight listed on the ticket when they ship that, and because they can't control all of those, right? And so if you get a box that says it's 1 cubic foot and it's 8 and it's 96 inches long, FedEx just does not have the ability nor the scale to control every single box and every number of packages that's just coming in. It's a difficult problem to solve. And the way I kind of look at this is, this may not be the option, but at least it's something else that they can try to say, look, we hear you contractors, the DRO is not right. So let us take that off your plate. Now, there's other issues that was you talked about that come up from it, right? So you got to deal with the recruiting, but at the same time, DRO is now off your plate. Let us handle that for you.